I'd like to call to order our April 11th Lacey City Council meeting. And if you're able, please stand with us and pledge the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So there's an amendment to the agenda. We're adding an executive session, and may I have approval of the amended agenda and consent agenda items?
Move to approve the agenda and consent agenda items as amended.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? We have an agenda. Thank you. First up is our presentations for Arbor Day. So, as many of you know, the city of Lacey was one of the first communities in the state of Washington to be designated as a tree city by the National Arbor Day Foundation. And today we're marking our 28th consecutive year to receive the award. Over the years, our community has invested nearly $7.5 million on tree planting and care, and distributed nearly 33,000 tree seedlings to residents. We're really extremely proud that Lacey features more than 6,000 street trees, formal street trees along our roadways and boulevards. And we're equally proud that our community maintains more than 1,200 acres of parkland and open space, creating one of the largest municipal park systems on South Puget Sound, much of it permanently preserving large areas of natural forest. In recognition of these urban forestry accomplishments and the importance of trees in our community, I'd like to read the following proclamation, and we're actually going to start down that way, please.
City of Lacey Official Proclamation. Whereas in 1872, Sterling Morton proposed to the Nebraska Board of Agriculture that a special day be set aside for the planting of trees, and
whereas this holiday, called Arbor Day, was first observed with the planting of more than 1 million trees in Nebraska, and whereas Arbor Day is now observed throughout the nation and the world, and
whereas trees can reduce the erosion of our precious topsoil by wind and water, cut heating and cooling costs, moderate the temperature, clean the air, produce oxygen, and provide habitat for wildlife, and
Whereas trees are a renewable source giving us paper, wood for our homes, fuel for our fires, and countless other wood products, and
Whereas trees in our city increase property values, enhance the economic vitality of business areas, and beautify our community.
Now, therefore, in the name of Andy Ryder, Mayor of the City of Lacey, on behalf of the City Council, do I hereby proclaim the month of April 2019 as Arbor Month in the City of Lacey. And I encourage all citizens to support efforts to care for our trees and woodlands, and to plant trees to provide beautification for future generations to enjoy. Signed by the Mayor, Andy Ryder, April 11th, 2019. So, we also have a long Arbor Day tradition to exchanging a special arbor tree with the City of Yelm. Mayor Pro Tem Wood, would you please come up? So, Mayor Pro Tem, on behalf of the people of the City of Lacey, it is a pleasure to present you with this Amur red flame maple in honor of Arbor Day. We hope it will bring beauty to your community for many generations to come. And here's this really lovely tree, and it's pronounced Amur, red flame maple. Nice.
Thank you very much, Council. I would hope that I could get some assistance loading this in my truck. No, thank you very much. It's always a pleasure interacting with the folks in Lacey, and we are neighbors, and the better we get along, the better it is for all of us. And we look forward to seeing, I imagine, Andy out at our Arbor Day celebration coming up here in the near future to let us extend our Arbor Day wishes to you and he as well. Thank you.
I do this a lot. So we also had 40 energetic young people from the Lacey Spring Break Day Camp undertake a special Arbor Day planning project. And I'd like to invite all of those that are here tonight to come forward while Desiree Elliott, our water resources assistant and educator, tell us about the project. Desiree.
Thank you for introducing us. It was a great day. Here are our representatives. Oh wow, I love the turnout. If you'd like to introduce yourself, would you? I'm Desiree Elliott, as was said, and
my name's Nicholas. I work with Parks and Rec.
we can go down the line. Pass. All right, thank you so much for coming, and thank you for planting those trees. I'm pleased to introduce you all to them. These are our representatives. We planted in Woodland Creek Community Park. We've been planting in Woodland Creek Community Park for some time now. Our current priority is repairing the riparian buffer. It's suffered in the past due to high use, and large plantings of native species in this zone will improve water quality in Woodland Creek. So these people should be really proud of what they did and the impacts that they're making on our local waterways. It's going to provide shade, bank stability, and all that good stuff. First thing we taught the campers was how we were going to put these plants in the ground, how big of a hole to dig, how to remove plants from the pot, every little detail. It was really fun working with the kids one-on-one. They worked incredibly hard in small pairs and groups in order to get each tree and shrub planted. Team building was essential to their success. With a wide range of ages, kids had to support each other and divide up the tasks based on everyone's knowledge and ability. Throughout the planting, kids were excited about every aspect. My favorite moments were working one-on-one with them, trying to gently remove the plants from their containers. They should be especially proud of the time and effort it took to get so many plants of different sizes, many like twice as tall as the kids that were planting them. All of these kids planted 100 different plants this day in just 2 hours. So they worked really, really hard, and they learned a lot. Kids were always asking questions about the critters they came across, like worms. That was really fun. One thing I really liked was kids were wondering how to identify native plant species, so they were really inquisitive, like really interested in what we were doing, and I feel like they really connected with the land and with each other through this. Campers left the planting knowing they have power to make an impact in their community no matter their age. Many were eager to revisit the park over the years. They're like, what's this tree gonna turn into? Like, can I come back? And some of them wanted to write their names on the tree, and we're like, no. But it's really exciting to see how proud they were of the work that they did, and we're equally as proud of them. If you're interested in this kind of work, Stream Team will be going back and watering the plants that these kids worked so hard to get in, because we wanna make sure that these plants survive and actually do the work on the riparian buffer that we wanted them to do. So thank you, and thank you campers for all that hard work. It means a lot, and you should be really proud of yourselves.
Before they sit down, I want to say a few words, and then they should come by and shake our hands, okay?
Yes, please do.
Thank you all for your outstanding work. And we have special certificates for everyone that I'll pass along to your camp counselors. And you should be proud of your contributions toward making Lacey an even more beautiful place to live. Thank you again. And please come by and shake our hands. Thank you.
Let's build our community. You guys are wonderful.
So, and now I'd like to remind the public that this Saturday, April 13th, the city will be holding its annual Arbor Month Seedling Giveaway, beginning at 10 a.m. at Huntermore Park. And species available this year include white dogwood, eastern redbud, river birch, sugar maple, and Colorado blue spruce. Last year, nearly 1,000 people turned out. So you may want to get there a little early if you want have a favorite one that you want. Thank you all again for joining us this evening. And with that, we'll move on to the rest of our agenda. And it's time for public comment. And we have one person on our list, Kelly Thompson. Kelly? Come up, and if you could, keep your comments to 3 minutes, please. And announce yourself right at the, oh.
Thank you. So I am Kelly Thompson. I live at 201 Simmons Street. I live on a boat. So I am intimately connected with every 17-foot king tide and blustering nor'easter that comes into our area. And my purpose here tonight is to share an invitation with the council to help us celebrate the opening day of our boating season. It's hosted at the Olympia Yacht Club downtown, and the context of it is that for more than 100 years, well, thousands of years, I'm sure, people of the water have gathered each year to celebrate the season when we can return to the waters. This opening day of boating season is being hosted this year by the Olympia Yacht Club, and council members are invited. This starts the season of activities that include, among other things, a regional sailing school for 400 kids through all of our communities here, a cruise for 100+ special needs folks and their caretakers. They get to talk to Santa on the boat radios. Another cruise involves 40 boats and several hundred brothers and sisters from the Joint Base Lewis McChord. And this all starts with opening day celebration at the Yacht Club on May 11th. The council's invited. We'd be honored if you'd help us.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kelly.
That is all that's on the list. Is there anybody else that would like to speak? So, please. Limit to 3 minutes and state your name.
Deputy Mayor and council members, David Shaffer with the Thurston County Chamber. Tonight, first off, it's very nice to be here. And tonight, I have one thank you and a congratulations as I'm representing the Thurston Green Business Designation Program. To my left is Natasha Ashenhurst with Mosaic Marketing, and she staffs the activity. And what I want to do is first congratulate you for being the top government entity in demonstrating green business practices. And it's really a very competitive effort. Know that your colleagues in the other municipalities were working hard to beat you. But Lacey ended up being the top. So that is the congratulations, and the thank you is just the ongoing support and leadership for creating a sustainable business culture within our community. With that, I would like Natasha to just spend 2 minutes talking about the program and giving you a quick update.
Thank you. Congratulations. I was there when the committee reviewed all the applications for the municipal category, and your application was outstanding. I believe Jenny Bowersfield was the one who filled that out, and she did a really good job. So kudos to her, kudos to her team that filled out that application. So just really quickly, I wanted to make sure that everybody understands the Thurston Green Business Program. I do have some cards that I can pass out. We're updating these this year. But first, The mission, very simple, connecting and celebrating sustainable businesses and organizations in Thurston County, enhancing the environmental and economic health of our community. So really, the Thurston Green business does the connection, right? We're bringing community partners to the table once a month. That includes the cities of Lacey, Olympia, Tumwater, the Port of Olympia, Intercity Transit, Puget Sound Energy. We even have a private business, Nissan of Olympia is at the table this year. So we're communicating amongst those partners, and then we're pushing that information that's vital to share with the business community out from the Thurston Green business. So anything that Lacey wants to share with the business community, this is the conduit to do that. Second, we celebrate. So we're doing the celebration as we saw yesterday at the Thurston Green Awards. Deputy Mayor Pratt was there to receive the award. So that's a celebration. And we also do things like our green issue of The Voice magazine, which is a Thurston Chamber publication. I don't know how many of you received this, but this was really all about sustainability, celebrating that as well. And then finally, the last is to enhance, and that good business is compatible with environmental stewardship. And so we're really working hard to share best practices of what green business is doing, and why that's good business and why it's really important for the community. So we want to thank the city for its involvement and participation in this program. It really means a lot. And if you have any questions, we'd love to answer them.
I don't, but I do want to apologize. While I sort of knew what I was going to say, but not really, I totally forgot Arbor Day, which is this week. So I'm saying, what? Of all things, well, I mentioned a few things that we have been doing, obviously not all because that would take too long, but I forgot the fact that we are a green city because of all our trees. So, audience, that's what we are.
I would like to mention that, you know, it was a packed house at the Chamber Forum, and, you know, to see that many businesses consciously want to be a part of, you know, being more green and more earth-friendly is awesome, because a lot of times businesses don't get that reputation, but here it really is embraced, and businesses, the local businesses, really care about it.
Saves money.
Just a quick note on that. There was a record number of attendees at the event yesterday, which is nice. So 250 people, and that's really a lot of fun. And then also a record number of recipients of Thurston Green. So outstanding. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else that wants to comment? Please state your name, limit to 3 minutes. Wait, but
the microphone. My name is Malcolm Miller. I'm a residential mortgage loan officer by day, but when I'm not doing that, I volunteer for the Thurston County Coalition Against Trafficking. We are having our annual 5K coming up on April 27th, starting at the church down in Tumwater. I have some touch cards at the back of the room if you're interested. The reason why we do this is because trafficking is happening all around you. You may not be able to see it, but it is happening around you, and a lot of times you just need to be able to see the signs of trafficking so that you can see what is really going on. It's kind of like when you buy a car and you don't see that car until you buy that car, and then when you have that car, you see that car all the time. Trafficking is very much like that. So the youth empowerment program that we are using to help kids understand trafficking, we've been able to put it in the schools, the program, but we just need the funding for the program. So the $40,000 that we need to raise, we are raising so far about $20,000, and that's not including the registrants who pay about $39 to register. So the program itself is, so far, it's been very successful in Tenino. It's in North Thurston, and we are training students, we are training teachers, we are training resource officers, and what we're training them is how to recognize the signs of trafficking, number one, and number two, what to do about it when you see it. A lot of times people see things and it's weird and they don't know what it is, but they know something's not right and they have no idea what to do about it. And we train them to first see it, and then second, what can you do about it? Because
In the United States alone, every year, about 730,000 people are reported missing. Of those 730, about 68,000 of them leave of their own volition. They just like, you know what, I'm done, I'm out. But the rest of them, we don't know really what happens. We just don't know. And so the confirmed number is less than 700,000, of course, but that is the amount that are reported missing. Internationally, that number goes up to about 2 million. And so a lot of these people are just never seen from again. I've seen interviews with traffickers. First of all, I want you to understand this. Traffickers don't take breaks. They don't take holidays. They don't take vacation days. They don't take sick days. They don't call in sick. Trafficking is 24/7. Your kid is nothing but a profit to them. That's it. Okay? They don't see a child. They see money. And so if you see some trafficking interviews, you'll realize that there are some very sick people on this planet. And I've seen trafficking interviews, and they tell you straight up, we don't have warehouses. Product we can't sell, we have to destroy. It's that real, okay? And those are kids that who knows what they could have been if they had a chance, if they didn't get caught up in that system, if they didn't get viewed as a piece of product or something that could be sold. So the Washington State Patrol tells us, you know, the $100,000 and $200,000 and $300,000 they spend on a sting operation is nothing. It barely even scratches the surface. Okay, the money spent on that is while it's absorbent, and yes, it helps get some pedophiles off the street, that money would be better used in prevention. And they tell us this over and over. Whatever you can do to create prevention, you need to do it. And that's what we do with the proceeds from the 5K. So we hope you can join us. It is April 27th. It is in Tumwater. You can go to WashingtonTraffickingPrevention.org to get more information. Thank you.
Thank you. So, would you like to come up and speak, state your name? Limit it to 3 minutes, please.
Jenny Gessler, resident of Hawks Prairie, back again to talk about, I'm going to change my word for it. I'm not going to say homelessness. I'm going to say addicts. So I'm supposed to get up here and speak for 3 minutes, but I actually have questions for you. I want to know if all of you have watched Seattle is Dying. Each one of you have? So if you haven't, it's pretty disheartening the way that can't speak for everybody, right? But the way that community feels about its city council. They're totally frustrated. It's also extremely sad that the police force is totally disheartened too and feels powerless. They got anonymous, if you haven't watched it, they got anonymous findings from police officers, reports. And it sounds like a pretty awful place to be protecting our community right now. Then my next question is, how many of you called the state to complain about the homeless camp right outside of Burger King and exit 111 so that could get dismembered? How many of you personally called and said, hey, there's this camp, could you?
I'm
Okay?
sorry, we don't engage particularly. Just
You don't
keep
have to
going.
answer. So I don't know what that came down to. Blew up on Nextdoor, which you probably know, Mr. Simmons. Blew up with comments, right? Somebody posts that they lost a dog. There's 4 comments. Somebody posts about a homeless camp. There's 98 comments. There's 20 comments. So that got dismembered, but probably only because of the divergent interchange going in. One lady commented that her daughter had to watch somebody defecating while they sat at the street light. So I'm just back again to say we know that they just moved. They didn't go find housing. I mean, they moved down the road somewhere, and they're all around. And what else? Since the last time I came, and I'm not trying to come at you, it's just that, you know, you get to be elected officials, and I'm sure that you came on a platform that you're really passionate about. Like, the Arbor Day thing is great, but it's not great when the trees are littered with feces and needles and junk and trash. So the yucky part of being a council member is it's not all just about paved roads and, you know, the police force and that sort of thing. What are we gonna do before we turn into Olympia, before we turn into Seattle? Like, That's my question. I emailed last time I was here. I think it was to you. I couldn't find it in my sent stuff. I never heard back, but I really want some answers on what you guys are actively doing or asking us to help with to combat this before we end up in a place that we can't get out of. Okay? Thank you.
Did you need to be filed as that at all? Did you wish to be filed at all? Okay. Okay, is there any other comments? Seeing none, we're going to go on to our next agenda item. We have no public hearing. Next up is a proclamation, and this is the month of the military child, and if you would start.
Okay. City of Lacey official proclamation. Whereas thousands of brave Americans demonstrate their courage and commitment to freedom by serving the armed forces of the United States, both on active duty and in the National Guard and Reserves. And whereas the City of Lacey recognizes the selfless acts of service performed by its brave members of the military and their devoted families. And
Whereas approximately 20% of children in North Thurston Public Schools have parents who served or are currently serving in the military, either on active duty in the National Guard or Reserves, and living in Lacey. And
Whereas these children and youth are a source of pride and honor to our community, and it is only fitting that we take time to recognize their contributions, celebrate their spirit, and let our men and women in uniform know that while they are taking care of us, we are taking care of their children. And
Whereas since 1986, communities around the world have celebrated the month of the military child throughout the month of April, allowing us to pay tribute to military children and youth, for their commitment, their struggles, and their unconditional support of our troops. Because when parents serve in the military, their kids are heroes too. And
Whereas a month-long salute to military children and youth will encourage the local community to provide direct support to military children and families.
Now, therefore, in name of the mayor of Andy Ryder, do hereby proclaim April 2019 as Month of the Military Child, and invite all City of Lacey citizens to honor military children by wearing purple each Friday in April, and urge all to observe this month by connecting with military youth, families, and communities to provide support to all military children. Signed this day, April 11th, by the Mayor, Andy Ryder. Thank you. So, and it's amazing how many military families we have in Lacey. So, in various connections, both veterans as well as active duty. So, at this time, we're going to, we have a referral from the Planning Commission, and it's on manufactured home park density requirements. Ryan, is he here?
Actually, I'm going to be Ryan tonight, so.
Are you? Okay.
I'm filling in for Ryan, and before you tonight, as you mentioned, is a proposed ordinance to amend the manufactured home ordinance within the city's Lacey's municipal code. This is a product of the 2016 comprehensive plan update. As part of that update of our comprehensive plan, we take the next step of reviewing all of our ordinances and make sure that they are consistent with the goals and policies of the plan. And through that process, we did that code audit, and we identified the manufactured home as one of the ordinances need to be amended to reflect the density goals for the next 20 years. As the council started looking at the full package, because if you remember that the code audit that was recommended by the Planning Commission was very thick, the council wanted to take a little further look at the provisions related to the manufactured home ordinance because of concerns of maybe creating barriers to other types of housing types. So the work session was held on March 7th by the City Council. It went in detailed review of the proposed changes to the manufactured home ordinance. The original language of the ordinance is to allow manufactured home parks on sites of 3 acres and a maximum site of 20 acres. and the manufactured home per acre shall be consistent with the underlying density. That's a maximum number of lots. The proposed change was to require that the density comply with the underlying zoning. And with our zoning categories for residential properties, we have several different categories. We have the low density 0 to 4, 0 unit to 4 unit per acre, the low density 3 to 6, 3 units to 6 units the acre, and then the moderate density, which has a minimum requirement of 6 units per acre and a maximum of 12, and then our high density with a minimum of 12. And so with the proposed change, it would make it very difficult for a manufactured home park to develop in a moderate density zone because of that minimum density requirement. So after review of the potential properties that are available in the city of Lacey to accommodate a proposed manufactured home property, there were roughly 21 properties. Only 3 of those were high density. The rest were either moderate density and low density. And so after lengthy conversation, the council directed staff to prepare an ordinance that would amend the existing LMC to reflect and add that the manufactured home park shall comply with the underlying density of the zone, except within the moderate density residential districts where no minimum shall be required. And the purpose of this would be that it would facilitate manufactured home parks to be able to develop in either low density 0 to 4, low density 3 to 6, or moderate density 6 to 12. So with that set up, there's a recommendation by staff that council take a motion tonight to amend the LMC with the ordinance that is attached for your review, and staff is available to respond to any questions you have.
I move to adopt an ordinance amending LMC 16.63.110 related to manufactured home park minimum density.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. So we will move on to, there's no referral from the hearings examiner, no resolutions, no ordinances, no manager's report, city manager's report. Do you have anything? No. So we're at our standing general committees, and let's see who's up. Transportations. Councilmember Hearn.
So transportation met March 5th at 4 o'clock, and the items covered were 1, Northeast Carpenter Road. Actually, I had requested staff to provide some updates on the impact of the northeast area of Carpenter Road. As we all know, there's a significant amount of residential development in that area, much of which is will be occupied this year, including very high density residential. And so I was curious to know what the impact on that Northeast Carpenter Road would be. And so it was reported that that intersection does have a planned future roundabout. The plan has been kind of redeveloped to include a single lane roundabout, which would actually reduce the time needed to complete a roundabout versus the original plan of a larger roundabout. Interestingly, the smaller roundabout can be increased to the larger roundabout at a later time with less disruption. Also at the meeting, we were briefed on the February snowstorm, which was between February 8th to 14th, if you remember. They talked about the 24-hour shifts that continue around the clock through the afternoon of February 12th. They talked about their plans. They talked about the trucks that were required, talked about secondary routes that were addressed. The following actions are planned in order to be even better prepared for the next snow event. Expanded training opportunities to reinforce lessons learned and add labor resources, expand service service areas to incorporate new equipment and growing roadway network. Submit staff report to construct an additional covered storage bin for another 70 tons of salt, and they showed us the coverings for those now. They also have a brine manufacturing facility on city property that they use for these types of events in the winter. They also creating a fact sheet for plowing plans to share with front counters so that there's more communication between the community and the staff. And then 2 additional vehicles will also be in service by next winter. So bring it. Even though we don't want to have a major snowstorm again, we'll be ready. Update on Marvin Road interchange on March 13th. As you've probably noticed, WashDOT, that's Washington State Department of Transportation, will begin restriping the bridge and has begun restriping the bridge and move lanes over the freeway. Alternate routes are being recommended due to the narrow lanes and the impact on traffic. And that's my report.
Thank you. Next up is our boards, commissions, and committee reports. And the mayor is not here, as you can tell. He's actually getting engaged in a special place. So he'll...
It's on Facebook, so it's not a secret.
So I'm up, and 2 committee reports. Poor Andy. Anyway, so LOT, Clean Water Alliance, met Wednesday, April 10th, and the main item was our works discussion of the cost of service and how we have set the ERU, or equivalent residential unit, defined currently as 9,000 cubic feet per month of flow. And this figure and the basis for service costs has not been updated since the wastewater resource management plan completed in 1998. So data analysis conducted as part of LOT's annual flows and loadings work indicated a reduction in per capita wastewater generation. And as a consequence, the base rate needs to be looked at again, both to our commercial and residential wastewater use assumptions. Our board meeting was mainly passage of our consent agenda, but after the meeting, we had a tour of the finished employee maintenance area, which has been upgraded. And so that's my report for LOT. ORCA, or Olympic Region Clean Air Agency, also met Wednesday, but in the morning. And our financial report showed we are pretty much on schedule for our budget projections for this year. March air quality monitoring for Thurston County showed Lacey, which looks at all of Thurston County. The monitor is in Lacey, with 29 days with good air quality and 2 days that fell in the moderate range. But those 2 days were just barely over the line, so that's good. And all other 6 monitoring sites in the 6 counties fell in the, showed good air quality. Lastly, we had a presentation on understanding climate and climate change. And as most people know, when talking about temperature in the jet stream, air moves from warm, high pressure to cold or low pressure as the planet spins, which moves air towards the poles. And of course, warm air holds more water vapor, and water is lighter than air. So Dr. Hadley showed a diagram of how temperature, water, and the jet stream normally should work together. Well, there is always an oscillation when the jet stream becomes out of sync with the temperature. The jet stream becomes weaker, and the oscillation is exacerbated. In other words, it gets higher and lower and more wavier, and it slows down, so weather disturbances stay longer. And so think of flooding, drought, because it lasts longer. And Arctic air is carried farther south, so you have extreme cold snaps. There are more severe storms and hurricanes because the air moves slower through the region. As the jet stream moves north, there are fewer storm systems bringing rain to the southwest, so drought will occur. Dr. Hadley lists the 5 warmest years on record: 2016, is currently the warmest. Then 2017, the third warmest, was 2015, and 2018 was the fourth warmest year. And these are been based on a baseline average from 1951 to 1980, and then looked at from that time period on. So this means for air quality, which is what ORCA deals with, there will be hotter and longer dry spells in the summer, leading to more severe forest fires and prolonged periods of bad air quality in the summer, dustier conditions, higher low-level ozone concentrations. In winter, air stagnation events could last longer and lead to more days of impaired air quality in the winter. So it was a very good report. She had a lot of graphs, and she explained it so that a layperson could understand, which was really good. So with that, that's the end of my report. And next up is Councilmember Young.
Oh, I have no report tonight. Thank you.
Okay. So Councilmember Greenside.
So I have one report tonight on Thurston 911, which met on April 3rd. Just three things that I want to mention. First, we are moving along with the bill that's been in both the Senate and the House in order to get the financing to replace the radios, the emergency radio system. It's currently in the House Rules Committee. It needs to come from the Rules Committee to the floor for a vote. It looks like that's very likely, but it has not happened quite yet, so we're still waiting on that. Work continues on the replacement of the 911 phone system. Staff's had demos from 3 companies so far. They have 2 more to go, and after that, they'll be making a decision on which system to go with. And then lastly, the 2018 annual report has been completed. It is available on the website. I also have one here if anybody wants to see it, but it is available for viewing on the website for Thurston 911. That is my report.
Thank you. Next up is Councilmember Hearn.
I'd just like to reiterate what committee member Malcolm Miller presented earlier tonight, that the 5K race against trafficking is April 27th. It is in the morning. It is on the same day as the procession of species, so we've timed it so you have time to run or walk and then head on down to the procession of species and have a great day. Interestingly, we're still taking corporate sponsorships, but we're doing pretty well on that. And certainly would love to have more corporate sponsors. Sign-ups for the race are good. What's interesting this year is we're finding people going to the website for the 5K, Race Against Trafficking, and they're not signing up to run, and they're not doing corporate sponsorships, they're just donating. Just straight up donating, which is fantastic to see. Again, these funds, they go towards education. We find organizations like schools and hotels and police departments and hospitals and places like that, and we use those funds to train those staff and those key contacts so that more and more people are aware of the terrible tragedy of human trafficking and can recognize the symptoms, because as Mr. Miller said earlier tonight, prevention is worth millions times more than the other. So April 27th, 5K Run Against Trafficking. Check it out. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next up is Councilmember Stedman.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. Solid Waste Advisory Committee met on April 3rd at 10 o'clock on Tilley Road at the Public Works facility. On the agenda item, let's see here. We had the county manager visit. There was a large amount of frustration on some of the committee members, including myself, the vice chair. The county's entered into an RFP process for waste hauling and garbage service stuff, and they're in the middle of this process, and the SWAC had not been briefed on it, and so of course that's would bring some concern on the members, because we're by law we're supposed to advise and have input and give back community values to important stuff like waste and recycling and reusing, et cetera. So it was a big enough concern on our part that the county manager actually came to address our concerns, which was great. It's moving in a great direction. So other than that, we worked on our annual report and our work plan for the year, and we're going to get more frequent updates, and we're going to actually get briefed on RFP and some other stuff. And so it's starting to become a more functioning committee, and so it's a lot of tensions have been eased, and it's moving in the right direction. So happy to report on that. Also on Wednesday the 3rd at 11:30, the Chamber of Commerce met at St. Martin's, and the topic of the forum was intercity transit. Now, we have a council member that sits on intercity transit. I'm not going to pretend for 1 minute I know as much about the new expanded service and such, due to the passage of the, what do you call it? Yeah, the sales tax thing for intercity transit. But they're ordered more buses, they're expanding services, more frequent stops and pickups. If there's a stop every 30 minutes on one route, they're going to increase it to 15 minutes or et cetera. But like I said, Councilmember Cox definitely knows more than me about it. And if you'd like to weigh in, more than welcome. But they gave a whole big spiel on all the expanded service and all the good things that are going to come to public transportation in regards to the intercity transit, for all the money that we're investing into that. So
I have a tiny piece of it coming up in my report.
Okay,
but you'll
perfect.
have to wait.
Other than that, that's about it. That's my report.
Thank you, Councilmember Stedman. Next up is Councilmember Cox.
Okay, won't have to wait too long, obviously. Okay, so the Transit Authority did meet on April the 8th, and among the items that we heard about and acted on were the purchase of 7 new replacement vehicles for the Dial-A-Lift program. We authorized the manager not to spend more than, I think, $881,779, pretty precise number. We also celebrated the ribbon cutting for the new Walk and Roll Youth Education Center, which is right across from the Olympia Transit Station. And if you have not had a chance to stop in there, I encourage you to do that, because this is where they rehabilitate bicycles and they train kids in safety, and if they work their way through the program, at the end of it, they get a free reconditioned bicycle. It's just a wonderful program there. And as Councilmember Stedman was saying, they did start new service enhancements on March 24th, and so far so good. They've added service on weekends now. They've added Sundays, and so now basically it's pretty much 7 days a week service. They've added some service on both ends to make the weekends more reflective of weekday service. And this was in response to comments from the public that there was a demand for this for people who wanted to go out on a weekend, but the bus stopped running earlier than worked with their schedule. New buses are on the way, so there will be put into service as soon as as soon as they get here and get serviced and checked out. So that is intercity transit. The Community Action Council met on March 27th. Highlight of that meeting was going through the strategic plan for the organization, which seems to be very healthy and in good shape. And next week is the fundraising breakfast for the Monarch Children's Justice and Advocacy Center, which is an organization that tries to make as painless as possible an experience for children who've been victims of crime and abuse. It puts all the different people they have to work with under one roof in a calm, safe setting for children. It brings the police, the prosecutors, the social services workers, all the different entities that go into the justice system. And so the child only has to go to one place, and then they can meet with these different people. And there's even a therapy dog named Astro who's helps calm them. So it's a great organization to support. And if you want some breakfast on the 23rd, show up at St. Martin's at 7:30. My next report, it's going to take me just a half second to get there. My computer's not working like it should tonight, is on the Regional Planning Council. Let's see. Oh, no, let's just go to Urban Cities. Committee on Housing, that was what came up just now. We met just before tonight's meeting at 5 o'clock, and we had, our guests were Brad Medrud, who is the planning manager for City of Tumwater, and he walked us through the work that the City of Tumwater is doing on tenant protections. This is an ongoing project, but it's basically designed to try to keep people who are in rental housing there instead of, falling out and becoming homeless. And we had representatives from Olympia and Lacey at the table as well tonight, and there's some interest in trying for Tumwater to come up with a model ordinance that then Lacey and Olympia could take a look at adopting as well. Obviously, it would have to go through our full city process here, but we do a lot of sharing of information, and we really like the idea of if Tumwater did the heavy lifting on the rental ordinance, Lacey did the heavy lifting on the affordable housing plan, Olympia has been doing the heavy lifting on homelessness, being able to share our resource with each other instead of each city having to invent the wheel on that. So it's a really good collaborative process. We also heard from a group called the Olympia Democratic Socialists of America, and they wanted to talk with us about developing unsubsidized public housing. Their idea is to try to keep affordable housing permanently affordable, and by having that housing in public hands, you have a little bit more control of that rather than the vagaries of the marketplace. So it was an interesting concept, and it's something, we had the Housing Authority director there as well, so it's a concept that I think may be explored a little bit. We'll see if it takes root. Regional Planning Council, let me see if I can get back to that. There we go. All right. So we met on April 5th, and the biggest part of the meeting was taken with the City of Olympia doing a presentation on their homeless response plan. They're now doing more forward-looking, and now that they've kind of stabilized as much as they can downtown with the implementation of the tiny village and with the supervised encampment, and have cleared out the unauthorized encampments from the downtown area. They're developing a community engagement process that will go through the late spring on into the summer and fall. They're having 2 public workshops that they're inviting all of us to attend if we like. The first one is on April 20th. I believe that's going to be at Olympia High School, and the second one is on May 4th at Capitol High School. You can see details if you're interested in this on the city's website at, it's called engageolympia.wa.gov homeless long-term planning. We also heard about the Coordinated Human Services Transportation Plan. The goals of this plan are to increase mobility options, improve service for individuals, increase coordination with other systems and programs, and improve efficiency, and identify and obtain sustainable funding to close gaps. That was the highlights of that one. And I believe, the Health and Human Services Council met on April the 8th. We got our training in how to evaluate grant proposals according to criteria that has been previously established and applications scored. These are fun. I think there's close to $5 million in federal and state housing funds, in recording fees, and that sort of thing. And so all these different social service agencies have applied for them, and we're going to be scoring the applications and making recommendations to county commissioners on how those funds should be awarded. So this will be coming up at our, we're having a half-day meeting in May to dig in and do that. So stay tuned. And that is my report.
Thank you, Councilmember Cox. We're at the end of our council meeting, but before I adjourn, I want to recognize Paul Ennis, who's on our Planning Commission chair. Welcome. And after we adjourn, we're going into potential litigation as per RCW 42.30.1110, Section 1, subsection I, and we'll be there for 25 minutes.
So we're just going into it, and then we'll come back in.
And then we'll, thank you. Then after we get done, we'll come back out and adjourn. So it's not adjourned yet. We're going in there and then adjourn. Thank you very much. What? Is it on? So I have a few minutes, though. 2 minutes.
Yeah, so Harry will give you the signal to, you'll give the deputy mayor, okay.
Okay. I'm actually back on TV now. Oh. I hate looking at myself, then I'm saying, oh, no. Yeah, I think, oh, there's my wrinkles and everything. Yeah. Okay. Do I have to announce that we're back out of executive session? Do I have to announce that we're out of executive session? Yeah. Okay. The Lacey City Council is out of our executive session, and with this, we are adjourning. It is 8:25. Thank you.